Hey there, my name is ARTFX and today we're going to do another tutorial and I'm going to show you how to make a Benny L style bass sound that sounds a little something like this. Let's get to it. So this sound is actually very simple. It's not that complicated at all. It basically involves making a res, using some FM synthesis, and then just adding a bunch of distortion and a little bit of reverb. And that's pretty much all there is to it. The first thing you want to do is you want to make a respace. Now, let's just redo this. So let's just, I'm gonna show you how to do this first step. So, you create a new MIDI track. You load up Serum, or any synthesizer that you like. As long as it has a saw wave, you should be good. So here we have Serum. I then made a long note. So I just made one long note in the key of F0, which gives us a good bass note. I then gave this I gave it 4 voices, and then I basically just brought down the detune a little bit. And that gives us this. So that's very similar to what we have here, I think. In fact, that is roughly the same. Yeah, so that is pretty much it for the first step. That is what you have to do to create the res. So I then just bounced that to audio, which created this res right here that you can see at the top. I've taken the sample and I've put it into a sampler. So this is the sampler right here. I've actually changed the start position to a section that I really like the sound of. And that gives us this. So we have a bunch of notes here. F0 followed by F sharp 0 and then an F0 again. So what we get now sounds like this. And that's actually the basis of the sound that we're going to work from. So in the sampler, I've set the root note to be F0, because remember, we've used F0 to create the res. So by doing this, I'm actually telling the sampler what key my sample is in, and therefore the FM section inside this sampler will actually be in key with the notes that I'm going to play. If, for instance, I set this root value to F0, but the sample I put into it is a E0, then the FM section will not be in key. And if I start using the FM section, it would sound really horrible. So this is very important. If you want that FM section to work fine, if you want it to work well, you gotta make sure that the sample you put in is in the right key that you set inside of the sampler. So now we can go on and start looking at what we have to do. So the first thing I did is I applied some filtering to it. So I took a low-pass filter. It's a low-pass 24 decibels per octave, and I've used some automation. So I can open up the automation here. The bottom automation right here, that is the automation for the filter. So if I zoom in, you can see what it's doing. We have a very short drop at the start, and then we get these 3 sort of like filter movements where the filter opens up and closes back down again, and then we get this really slow movement towards the end. So that now sounds like this. So that is the filter movement of the sound. I then decided to go into the pitch and oscillator tab here and play around with the FM section, because when I hear these Benny L style basses, there's one thing that really jumps to mind, and that is FM synthesis. It sounds like he's doing FM synthesis a lot and then just running that through some distortion. So I tried to play around with that, and I actually first did the one in Serum, and I wasn't really getting too close, so then I thought, wait, the sampler has an FM section as well, let's try that one. And it actually sounded a lot better, in my opinion at least. So I've turned it on, and you can see I have this other automation lane, right? That is the automation for this volume section right here. So that is the volume of the FM oscillator, which means that the higher volume we have here, so the higher volume we have set here, the more FM we are going to get, and FM stands for frequency modulation. So what I've done here is I've set the chorus value, which is kind of similar to the pitch. I've set it to a value of 8, and then I've used a Sol D waveform as the waveform for the FM oscillator. So with that automation, so I'm automating that, and that I can basically, let me just do this right now. So I can show you what this does. So you can hear the sound that it's doing, right? Well, if I combine that with the filter movement, now we get this. So this top lane, this one right here, that is the movement for the volume on the FM oscillator. So now we get this. And that is much closer to what we want. So next step is, it sounds a little bit too sweet. It sounds a little bit too, it's not distorted enough. So I went back into the filter section because we actually have a distortion section in here as well. I've taken the shaper here at the bottom. I've enabled that, and I've made sure that it goes into the filter first and then into the shaper. So if that arrow points to the top, it means the shaper is added first, and then it goes into the filter. If it points to the bottom, it means it goes through the filter first, and then it goes into the shaper. So I've used the hard shaping here to get some really gritty distortion. Value an amount of 58, and that turned it into this. Now we get a lot of distortion, we get a lot of bass, it sounds nice and gritty, and this is what we want. So next step is, I felt like maybe there was a little bit too less sub, so I wanted to make sure that the sub was nice and clean, so I added a separate layer of sub. I didn't even high pass the sample itself, I just literally added a sub sine wave underneath it, just to reinforce the sub frequencies. And that shouldn't really do too much difference to the sound, it's just basically just adding some sub. And that sub is mono compatible as well, because it's a perfectly mono sub, so that helps with mixing later on. Then we have a little bit of post-processing. It's not that much at all. The first thing I did is I've added an EQ8, and I've set this to the mid-side mode so that I can actually EQ the center of the stereo spectrum different from the sides. I've done that, basically high passing the sides to make sure that we don't get any sub in the sides of the stereo spectrum, but we do get sub in the center. That again doesn't really do that much of a change. Still sounds very similar. Then I added an EQ8 again. This one is set to the stereo mode, and this is just to add a little bit of a boost in the low mids. I felt it was needed. I felt it made it sound a little bit beefier, and that just helps. I felt it was just lacking a little bit of low mids right there, but just play around with that. It's really hard to do this on a sound itself. I always advise you to listen to the sound in context of the track and then do your final EQing, because you just can hear way better what you're doing. Next step, I added a Valhalla vintage verb. I've used one of the presets. Oh no, I started from the default preset. Very short reverb decay time here. Mix is set to 22%. This is all not that important. What is really important is the EQ section right here. So you can see the low cut, I've brought that up to 1500 Hz. So I'm not getting any low frequencies and I'm not getting any low mid frequencies. I'm literally just adding some reverb to the higher frequencies, and that's what I want. I just wanted to give it some space. So that really does a big difference. So this is without. And this is with. So that really adds some space to it, and I really like that. I then decided to add one glue compressor, which is just there to basically catch some of the peaks, cut them off, and basically just glue it all together. And that's it. That is literally it for the entire sound. The other thing here is just a separate sine wave sub. Nothing going on in this one. Literally just a sine wave sub. So that is it. All that's left is here on the group. is a sidechain compressor, because I've had some drums in here as well. So with those drums, we get this. So that's it. That's literally how to make this sound. I have one other version. As I said before, I can quickly run you through that. You can hear it sounds different. It sounds not as beefy. It's not as dirty. This one is made with just Serum. So I've started the exact same way. I've started by using 4 voices on this saw wave. Brought the detuning a little bit down, so we have 0.15 on the detune. And then I've basically used the FM from B, and I've used the saw wave, just like what I've done in the sampler. I've used the saw wave, and I've used a filter here. I've actually used a filter that is at 12 dB per octave. The one in the sampler was a 24 dB per octave filter, but it seemed that this one sounded better than the 24 dB per octave. But the main difference here is that the FM sounds different, and I can just easily show you that. Like, if I would have to set it the exact same way as inside the sampler, let's have a look at what this does. Okay, so you have a ratio of 1. That is your default ratio. If your ratio is 1, the FM oscillator is going to play the exact same pitch, right? So if I then double the ratio, which in the sampler right here is called coarse, if I double that, we get a ratio of 2, or coarse value of 2, which would mean we get an octave above that. If we want to get another octave, we have to double it again, so then we end up on a ratio of 4, which makes it 2 octaves up. So a coarse value of 8 would mean that we are in fact 3 octaves up, if we're talking about FM synthesis at least. So 3 octaves up, that is what this saw wave is. So this saw wave right here, this saw wave FM oscillator, is playing 3 octaves higher than the sample that I've put into the sampler. Let's take a look at the Serum here. I have the same setup for the Res. We have a 4-voice saw wave with some detuning. Pretty much the exact same thing. However, I then have this other saw wave here, which is up 3 octaves. And that saw wave is being used to FM the first saw wave. Pretty much the exact same thing as I've done in the sampler. But it sounds completely different. Listen to the tone of the FM. You can just hear it sounds different. In fact, I think this one would sound closer if we do a 2-octave saw wave for the FM. It's not the same, but it sounds more similar than when we have this one 3 octaves up. So there you have it. That's how you can see that between different synths you will get a completely different result. So play around with different ones of them, try it out in different synths and see which one works best for you. So that was it for this tutorial. I hope you learned how to make Benny L style bass sounds today. If you did, then please like this video, and if you want, please subscribe to this channel as well, and if you do, then it would mean a lot if you can click the little bell notification icon so that you get notified whenever I upload a video or post a live stream. If you have any ideas for one of my future tutorial videos, and if you want me to make a certain style sound or a certain type of sound, then leave a comment below and tell me what you want me to do next. I keep track of all the requests, and when I have some time to make tutorials but I'm completely uninspired, then I have always this list to fall back on, and I will just pick a few subjects and make some tutorials about those. So if you have any ideas, then let me know in the comments below. Also, if you want to join my Discord server, then check out the invite link in the description below this video. If you click that link, you'll be added to my Discord server where you can talk with other like-minded people about music production, drum and bass, the latest plugins, or just share your music and get some help and get some feedback on them, or of course help other people get better. Finally, upcoming Friday I'll be doing another live stream, so if you have some time to tune in upcoming Friday, 8 PM Central European time on this YouTube channel and on my Twitch. Check it out, upcoming Friday. We're probably going to be working on some drum and bass. So, that was it for this video. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you back soon. Peace!